Okay, so you've been sheltering in place for as long as you can remember, and you're wondering what else is there to watch. Stick around, I've got the answer. So what to watch? Well, you cannot go wrong with the classics. There's Star Trek, the original series. The one with Kirk and Spock came out over 50 years ago, lasted for 3 seasons, and spun off 6 movies. Well, the series has been remastered for Blu-ray. All the audio has been re-recorded in digital 5.1. Many of the effects have been redone in CGI, and all the prints are so cleaned up they look incredible. You cannot go wrong with that. Next, we have Star Trek, the animated series. Still has Kirk and Spock. It came out a few years after the original series did. Used most of the same cast as Star Trek, except for Chekhov. And it was the first Star Trek to win an Emmy. Next, we have Star Trek, The Next Generation. It takes place about 100 years after Kirk and Spock, and the captain here is Captain Jean-Luc Picard. Much bigger enterprise. It ran for 7 seasons, spun off 4 movies, and here we have the Klingons being a part of the Federation. I mean, like, what is this world coming to, right? Next, we have Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and this is the same time frame as Star Trek Next Generation, and this ran for 7 seasons, and we have Commander, later Captain, Benjamin Sisko, and this takes place on a space station parked outside a wormhole. Ooh. Star Trek Voyager. This one has a lady captain, Catherine Janeway, and this is also in the same time frame as DS9 and Next Generation, and this takes place on a starship way the hell on the other side of the galaxy. It's supposed to take them 23 years to get back, but in the last episode they do it in 7. Go figure. Now we have Enterprise. Later they call it Star Trek Enterprise, and this takes place 100 years before Kirk and Spock. In the first Warp 5 capable starship, this ran for 4 seasons, and season 4 is by far the best. And they go on to explain why the Klingons look one way with Kirk and Spock in the original series and look differently in all the other series. It's amazing. You can't miss it. Recently, they've added Star Trek Discovery. So far, it's been on for 2 seasons. The 3rd season will premiere in December, and this takes place 10 years before Kirk and Spock. And season 2 has Captain Christopher Pike being the captain. And the main character here is Mr. Spock's foster sister. Then there's Star Trek Picard. Takes place about 20 years after the last Star Trek movie, which is about 128 years after Kirk and Spock, with now retired Admiral Jean-Luc Picard. He goes off on one last mission to save the galaxy. Some of the old characters from Star Trek Next Generation and Star Trek Voyager make an appearance in the show. It's pretty good. Now, if you've done all that, then head on over to YouTube. There are more Star Trek fan films on YouTube than there are agapanthus in my backyard. Some of the best ones are Star Trek Phase 2, where they continue the voyages of Kirk and Spock, and the actor that plays Captain Kirk is actually an Elvis impersonator. And they also have episodes with the original Sulu, and the original Chekhov, and the original Rand. Next we have Star Trek Continues, which is basically about the last final year of Kirk and Spock's 5-year mission on the Enterprise. Some of the episodes here were actually sequels from episodes from the original series, and this Scotty here is actually the son of the guy that played Scotty in the original series, and this Sulu here is actually from Mythbusters. Last we have the Red Shirt Diaries. These are video log entries from Ensign Williams that take place during some of the episodes from the original series of Star Trek, and these are quite funny. This is my favorite fan film of all. So now you know what to watch. But if Star Trek's not your idea of a cheap thrill, I have more recommendations for next time. But just remember, if you really didn't want to know the answer, don't ask JB.